I'm Lara Sowinski, Group Editor for the Crop Life Media Group, and my guest this morning, first guest on my Fireside Chat, Kathleen from AquaSpy. How you doing?
I am well, thank you. I'm all revved up since I've already been talking about soil, so I guess I'm prepped and warmed and quite warm.
Oh, good, good. Well, give us a quick overview of AquaSpy, who you are, what you do, and we'll jump into some questions.
Well, at AquaSpy, we are a soil moisture company. However, I would rather call us a crop root analysis company. So as opposed to just saying below ground measuring is the soil wet or not, we actually have sensors going every 4 inches down to like 48 inches. So we can do that for any kind of crop, whether it's a little bitty lettuce or a great big tall cornfield. We can understand how well that crop is utilizing the available moisture. And we can also do temperature, so it would tell us that it was hot today, but also that we measure salinity through EC as well. And so it was kind of fun, and if I could throw that in, I just did the tech talk, and one of the experiments that we had run was, does corn behave differently in different regions? And the thing, and we did discover that Nebraska corn and Texas corn did absorb and did have different requirements. So that was an interesting discovery. But what we did myth bust was that corn, unless you have it at the butter stage, corn does not want salinity. So don't put your corn, or don't put your salt on your corn until you get to the butter part.
Yeah, okay, got it. So we're in Iowa in the middle of corn country, and we've been talking yesterday, Women in Ag Tech is a lead up to Tech Hub Live. I had the pleasure to meet Dr. Kathy Hibbert of NASA, talking all about soil. We talked about soil a little bit today in the keynote with Alyssa Whitcraft. Farmers and agronomists know their soil pretty well, huh? Or not?
Yeah, I know. Here I am, a marketer from California at a sensor company, and I'm not a soil expert. But it's really important, and actually Dr. Whitcraft did say really important things this morning that I totally endorse, and that is we have to start with the soil, and we have to start there at the beginning, and we have to start with the data from that. And it really is at the root of everything we're doing. And we have to start figuring out ways to improve that soil and improve the health of that and get beyond just sustaining it.
So you need to know what the roots are doing in the soil. Does it matter, yes or no, if the grower is irrigating or not? How does that affect?
No, and that's a really good question, because we're here in Iowa, and most of the area here is dry land, and so people are like, well, why are you here trying to sell soil moisture sensors? And it comes back down to the data. And even if you're dry land, growing dry land corn, then you need to understand if there's too much salinity. And again, I said I was from California, and we were kind of the first that really started to run into trouble with the ground becoming too saline. I mean, we're ripping out almonds like crazy because of that. But now we're seeing that as the aquifers are drying up, we're seeing these salinity issues happening further and further across. We're seeing it in Kansas. We're starting to see some of that in Nebraska. And so, really understanding. And you don't just grow corn here in Iowa. I mean, there's cotton and sorghum and other dry land crops. And for sorghum, if you know that the soil is at an optimum temperature, and I think it's 27 to 30 centigrade, something like that, then you're going to have a better crop if you can get your crop in at that optimum temperature zone. And as we're changing, and the seasons are changing, and the weather is getting a little bit warmer and things like that, understanding what's going on in your soil and in your crop roots, and understanding what's working and what's not is relevant whether you're irrigating or not. And I think what the other thing that we're starting to see is the experimentation. I mean, Dr. Whitcraft talked a lot about that, is these studies. We're talking about sustainability and regenerative practices. I was really excited. This year, UNL TAPS added cover crops to their experimentation. Well, how are you going to know whether you're dryland cropping or not? if the myth of those cover crops are sucking up all my moisture, or does it really keep the temperature cooler? Well, if you're studying that with tools that you can measure it, then you'll be able to prove or disprove those hypotheses.
Great. So when we were prepping for today, one of the things that we were talking about, you and I, is soil and nutrients, and wanted to talk a little bit about nutrient management. So can you shed some light
everything's
for us?
all about the nutrients, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you need the water and you need some nitrogen, you need the nutrients. And I think, what did I read? I think it's like 96% of corn growers use nitrogen. Maybe 20% of them or so test for that. But the excess nitrogen, well, one, it's become real expensive this year, as everybody knows. So just can I use less, and can I, it's not put as much on just from a money perspective, but also places like Iowa have nutrient management incentive programs, and I love seeing that. I love these programs where it's like, hey, let's be more aware of that, because we want to make sure it's not leaching too far into our soils, our neighbor soils, our rivers. There's rivers on either side of Iowa, so we don't want it to leach out into these rivers. And so nutrient management is becoming a much more critical thing. And there are some interesting things that I need to find the study and quote it, but there had been a hypothesis, actually I think a lot of people say that the nitrogen carbon cycle is broken, and we've got to figure out how to fix that on our way toward better carbon sequestration. And as we've been around for about 10 years, actually over 10 years in the field, one of the things that we developed our permanent sensors for was that the growers, it's hot out, and they're busy, they don't want to have to go out into their fields and test the soil all the time. So they've been coming to us and saying, can you do the same thing for nitrogen? Can you permanently monitor remotely nitrates? And so starting last fall, using real similar technology to the below ground multiple sensors that we have in the ground now, we've been experimenting with nitrate, and so far so good. We've got some in the field today.
Great.
And we're trying. Now, if you came to my tech talk and you saw the charts, now the chart guys are trying, the girls, chart people are trying to figure out the charts.
That's good. That's good. So, you guys, this is the third Tech Hub Live. You guys were here last year. Were you here in 21?
No.
As well? Okay.
No, we missed that one.
So we're just getting started for this year. I know, first day of the conference, but from AquaSpy's perspective, what are you hoping to learn and gather and find out this time around, this event?
I'm always looking for, how can we better convey our message? That's what I want to learn. What more things can we bring to the market, to our growers, to our partners, to help educate? And unfortunately, I haven't seen in that 3 years seen the tech adoption ragingly ramping up. I think we're still at baby days, which was a new thing for me coming into ag a little bit more recently. So that's what I'm looking for is what more ways can we help with data collaboration, looking for partners to help with that, research, public-private, meeting more universities. What can we do to help move this along? And listening to what other people are doing about that as well, and looking for those opportunities to collaborate, because we all have to collaborate. It's co-opetition. There's some people say, oh, you got 4 or 5 competitors here today. It's like, no, we're all here for the same mission, and we all need to figure out the same things. How do we all work together to make this all better? And otherwise, next time we're going to be sitting next to the swimming pool.
Well, that theme of collaboration and working together, and kind of a rising tide floats all boats, whatever it was.
Well, that's why we joined Global Ag Tech Alliance. That's why I joined Women in Ag Tech. Is that I love that you guys are bringing these groups together and helping put that forum together for that collaboration, and we all have to go out and make this work.
Yeah, for sure. So for the folks around here, what booth are y'all in? Where could they find you? Where could they track
Oh,
you
we're
down?
in booth 401. So please come
401.
come by booth 401. Steve he has samples. He'll share pictures. If you, well, don't. I'm not supposed to say that out loud. Show pictures of the new stuff. If you're nice, we'll tell you about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kathleen Glass from AquaSpy.
Thank you.
AquaSpy. What did I say?
AquaSpy.
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 See? All right. Thank you,
It's early
Kathleen.
still. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.